Just want to say first thing, in case your Spotify acts screwy like mine did on Tuesday, this is April 21st, 2022. All right. We're not going to evaluate whether Noah Fant would be a good dynasty pick in a rookie draft. That's years ago. We don't want you to get confused. It's 2022, April 21st. The NFL draft, the 2022 NFL draft is next week. It might not be that good, but for us dynasty players, fantasy players, they're all good. So we'll break some of that down tonight, look at a couple of drafts we're in, talk to Kevin Scott about some of the rookies. That's got to be on the rookies here with only a week to go. Should be fun. Thanks for watching. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. This is The Deep End. So not many people know this, but I'm older than Adam. Just a little trivia, show trivia for you.
Barely.
And Daryl Lamonica died today. So he played a long time ago. We're not going to evaluate his fantasy prospects, but he was a super cool figure, I think, in football. He was a Bill. He played for Notre Dame. He was a quarterback at Notre Dame in the late 50s and then was drafted by the Bills in 63, I think, and was Jack Kemp's backup for most of his career in Buffalo. Kemp was the starting quarterback. The Bills won AFL titles 64-65. Lamonica only started 4 games for the Bills before being traded to Oakland. And he started right away for Al Davis in Oakland. Started Super Bowl II. This is a little bit before I know it's hard to believe, Adam, but a little bit before my time. But Lamonica was like one of these super cool 60s football figures, especially AFL. Started Super Bowl II for the Raiders, as I said. Played through 74. And I talked to him once. I did a card show, like The Hobby it was called, sports cards and memorabilia. And I talked to Lamonica. He was into fishing. This is maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But I loved it. And so news got around today that he had died at age 80. And so I'm just doing a Raiders thing here. I even changed my shirt to go a little bit silver and black.
Sure. Now, so tell me real quick, why was he the Mad Bomber?
Well, I'm not sure that I know, but he was known for throwing the ball deep. I mean, the Raiders, the Raiders' reputation forever has been the deep ball. That's Lamonica. Maybe it started with Lamonica, but, Stabler and Branch and I don't know, like they were always looking for guys in the 90s and the 2000s who could replicate that and sort of get Al Davis back to where his happy place, I think, throwing the ball deep downfield.
Yep.
So I don't know how or when Lamonica got his nickname, but he was like, let's go deep. So you got to love it. Got to love him for that.
Yeah, no, he was ahead of his time. That guy, for sure. And Lamonica, I definitely recognize the name. I wonder what the analytics community would have said about him back then. You know what I mean?
They probably would have loved him. Because why do you want to throw the ball and not run it? Because it's worth more.
That's right.
Upside. A good average pass play is as good or better than a good running play. So get the ball down the field, 10 to 15 yards or deep. Not everything has to be a bomb. So we're going Raiders here. Jim Otto. It's one of my all-time favorite jerseys. My friend Tony bought me that jersey several years ago. It's not gold. It looks sort of brown with the lighting and the backdrop here, but it's silver. The best sports jersey I've ever seen. Otto is the center of those teams. Hall of Famer. Syracuse, I think. The best sports jersey I've ever seen, any sport, is J. Otto. But if you look at the Immaculate Reception game, the 72 playoffs, OTTO is all the way across, shoulder to shoulder, spread out. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I love that. And we've got the 3 Raiders Super Bowl MVP helmets. We've got Biletnikoff in 11, Plunkett in 15, and Marcus Allen in 18 behind me. So
that's great. That's great. And I don't want to, go too crazy on the rabbit hole, but I'll give my age away. My favorite jersey growing up, my favorite is the powder blue LaDainian Tomlinson. That would have been the first non-Bills jersey that I bought. And it was beautiful. Still
And that's cool. That's an homage to the same era, like Lance Allworth and those Chargers. The LA Chargers back then wore the same look. They went back to that. So it's a good choice.
I like it.
All right, Kevin Scott coming up tonight. We're going to talk some rookies. The NFL draft is a week away. Dynasty drafts are, playing out. You and I did a $1,000 buy-in. That's every year. It's going to be $1,000 at the FFWC. We've talked about it a couple times, and it's over. It's finally over.
Finally. God.
So, yeah, what do you think? How do we do?
I think we did well. I mean, and I hate this. I think I brought this up last week. Like, I feel like I don't think we did our best in the sense where, like, if we did it again today, I think we could do better. And I just, obviously you have much more information, but I think just looking at kind of where some rookies were taken, where, some strategy here, some strategy there, I think if we did another one of these, which we probably will, I mean, it's a long off season. We'll probably do another Dynasty Startup. I think we'll do better.
Hey, let me check
we might start one tonight.
You feel like maybe it'll be soon? I'm just going to say, I got an opening July 11th. Looks pretty good.
But yeah, so just to kind of give people, we've talked about this, but it's over on Play FFWC there. Great site. Billy invited us. Scott has been great to us over there. And so it's a start 3 receiver, non-tight end premium, non-super flex, 2 flex, 2 running back, 1 quarterback, kicker, tight end, defense. So pretty standard. So you get the 3 receivers, 2 flex, non-super flex. So
I like it.
So yeah, so that's kind of just to break that down. And I think I would just start with our team here. I'll just list the names down for we took. It's 22 rounds. And we ended up with a quarterback. We ended up with Dak Prescott and Derek Carr.
How did everybody get their own colors?
I don't know. That's fancy, huh?
Did we pick our colors?
Maybe.
We didn't.
No.
I didn't pick those colors.
Oh, we didn't. Maybe we can. This is.
What are we? Oklahoma?
Oh.
I mean, fine, but
we are Oklahoma.
I want to be unique.
We're
deep end colors.
Ooh,
light blue, dark blue. That's our brand.
Okay, I'm changing it tonight. I'll figure it out.
I'll beat you to it.
Quarterbacks: Dak Prescott, Derek Carr. Running backs: Aaron Jones, Michael Carter, Chase Edmonds, Kenyon Drake, Marlon Mack, Raheem Mostert, Davis Price. My gosh, the TYR. Is that Tyrone to Tyreek?
Tyrion,
of course.
Tryon. Tyrion.
You'll have to ask Kevin about him tonight. I'm not that deep. I'm not that deep yet. Receivers: Cooper Kupp, Amon-Ra St. Brown, T. Higgins, Adam Thielen, Jacoby Myers, Robbie Anderson, Kenny Galladay, Julio Jones, Bo Melton. Shout out to a previous guest,
Cody
Carpentier, Bo Melton, Kevin Austin, receiver, and then our tight ends are Kyle Pitts, Adam Troutman. I really like that pick. Irv Smith Jr. and place kicker Justin Tucker. We didn't take a defense. We didn't need to take a kicker, which is interesting strategy.
I'll explain that if you want.
Sure. And then real quick, because there's trading and all this other stuff, just to look ahead, we have a first, 2 seconds, a third, a fourth, 2 fifths, and a 2 sixths next year. So we have a bunch of picks next year too. We didn't trade away a lot of stuff. So we got a nice 2023 draft coming up.
I think there can be an advantage. We're banking on there maybe being an advantage in having like a kicker that's your kicker, for the season or for a few seasons. I didn't mind that Justin Tucker is, I think, 32. Like, you could have picked someone younger, like the principle would apply at other positions, but I didn't care about that. So many teams will stream kickers, and that might end up being us. But I think kicker is different than defense. I think kicker can be just, you have your guy. And if you feel like you might be overwhelmed by the streaming because you're in so many leagues, then even more so, you just want to settle in. Defense, when they told us we didn't have to draft one, like we could have picked how many got picked? I don't know. Like say 10 got picked, it's probably fewer. But the 10th best defense, we're going to get to week 1. And if Jacksonville's going to play Houston, we're going to pick somebody. We're going to want to pivot to somebody from that game, So
right.
We'll just wait. What I wanted to do also, and I'm not sure I'm right, but like the last 7 or 8 rounds of this, rookies. So this guy, Davis Price, I know people who like him. What has to happen for him to be somebody we want to hang on to? Like, he's going to have to be probably drafted by the right team, and then you're going to have the right buzz. And I don't know, maybe we find out that he's actually relevant on a team. This is all regardless of whether he's good. I like the idea of the veterans more. That's Julio Jones in this draft. That's, I don't know, like I don't think we picked Gaskin, but some of these guys that nobody likes, you don't get any oohs and ahs from drafting them. But I think there are always going to be 3 or 4 players we're going to have to be willing to cut to pick up someone we want on waivers, because that always happens. So I think that's kind of a little bit easier when they're veterans. And Julio, I don't know, Adam, so if Julio doesn't make it through a training camp and just gives up, okay, that makes it easy. What if what's the other side of the coin? Like he goes to a team that's good and he starts to look like Julio Jones, then we have a win there. So I'd rather do that than those middling rookies, because I just think there's too much of a chance that by the first quarter of the season, we are not sure what they are, and we'll end up being tempted to cut them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's, I don't want to say that that's deep end kind of thinking there, right? Like Julio Jones, listen, he hit a home run. Julio Jones is someone in Dynasty you never dream. Like, I'm not taking Julio Jones. I'd rather take a flyer on a rookie. But you're right. Some of these rookie, especially receivers, where you're going to take in the 21st round of a startup draft, are guys that aren't even going to. They might not even get drafted. They might not even make an NFL team. Meanwhile, Julio, like you said, is going to sit. He's going to sit around. He's going to get healthy. And he's going to wait for. He's not going to Jacksonville. He's not going to some garbage. He's going to wait for a really nice offense to have an injury or to reach out to him. And he's going to come in. And when you have to start 3 receivers and you can start 5, he could find himself in a nice situation where he starts as our wide receiver 4 or our wide receiver 5.
Yeah.
Whereas rookies we could be cutting. So again, that's obviously a short game pick. But it's clever, and it's something that other teams probably weren't thinking about. I certainly wasn't thinking about it. And we have a couple of those.
Kenyon Drake.
Yes.
Right? I mean, he's less famous than Julio Jones, but isn't he sort of, so what are the different scenarios that could happen? The whole game is trying to predict, not get in front of the market. If somebody is likelier to sag in the market, then you don't want to pick them. But if they're the only scenarios mean they jump up, then you do. So what happens to Kenyon Drake? He gets cut, fine. I mean, that's not going to happen, though. We looked up his dead cap. It's like $8 million. So he's not going to get cut.
Right, exactly.
His new coach likes to use multiple running backs. Have you heard anybody mention Kenyon Drake once since he got hurt in the season?
No.
Not once. So $8 million for a dead cap on a new coach who always used multiple running backs in New England. I mean, I don't know. A Jacobs injury, then he goes way up, but you don't even need that to necessarily make him relevant. I think he's good. Like, he was good when he played. So to me, like, I'd rather be on a guy like that than some of the other dart throws. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, and he just, he's not young. I mean, he just turned 28, but he's also not. He doesn't have the carries, doesn't have the touches that a lot that, Derrick Henry, who I think is 28 or 29 has. Like, he's nowhere near that type of load. So yeah, I think those are clever picks that, and again, we could treat them just like you said, you made the point of why we wouldn't cut Drake, or why, they're not going to cut him and they're probably going to use him. But like, we could still treat him like any other player in this range. If he doesn't look good or whatever reason, we can cut him, because we took him in the 17th round. We had a bunch of extra picks down here too. It's hard to see because we obviously had we're deep end dynasty. All the players you see there are not our players. They were traded and all that type of stuff. So but we had a lot of picks in this range too, because we made some trades to trade back. But yeah, overall, I like kind of what we did, and I like kind of we built for now, and I think we built for the future a little bit with Kyle Pitts, and I think we went in going with a zero RB kind of, or maybe hero RB strategy for this, because you can start so many receivers. And Aaron Jones was kind of our guy. We traded up maybe 3 or 4 picks to get him. I think he's got at least one good year left in him. And the reason why we did that was because, I'm under the impression, I think we're on the same page. Running backs, I feel like, are easier to get and / develop immediately, right? Like Breece Hall, no one's waiting. No one's going to be like, oh, well, Breece Hall's got to go to the right team, and then he needs 3 years to develop. No, we're expecting Breece Hall, even Kenny Walker, to come out of the gate and be really good. So that's why I think you can kind of go with the zero RB strategy in Dynasty and get away with it. Because let's say all of our running backs fail and they stink. Well, next year we've got a first, we've got 2 seconds. We can move around. We can make some things happen to get some young rookie backs.
I want to get through the first few weeks and then see where we stand, and then find the teams that want to give up too. You want to have those picks just in case you start 3-1. This is a head-to-head leagues. You start, I think it is. So you start with a good record and you have a chance, and then you can sort of smell the money a little bit. But if you don't have anything to give up, then you're stuck. So you want to have the right 22 rounds. You want to have a couple young guys you feel like you can move on from, and then also those draft picks, because somebody who thinks they did as well as I think we did, like 4th or 5th best for this year, but somebody who thinks the same way, and then they have a couple injuries, they lose, and they'll want that first. You want to come out. I don't think you want to be devoid of picks, because there's so much randomness, and you want to have those pieces you can trade if it comes to that. Nick,
yeah, go ahead.
Trying to move Aaron Jones is asking for a 20. Oh, you can never ask for too much. I know that. Asking for a 2023 first, too much for Aaron Jones. I mean, these always depend on who you are, what you have, what they have.
Have you imprinted on them? Do they, you know what I mean? What type of trading relationship do you have with this person?
I mean, we could go on all night on that.
We could go on all day. Right. I think that it depends. I mean, you're not going to get a high end 2023. You're not going to know if it's high end 2023, but
everybody wants those.
Everybody wants them. I personally would not, unless, I mean, it depends on the league. Am I loaded everywhere else and I'm one running back away from competing for a top 2 spot? Then maybe do I have 3 2023 first round picks already? You know what I mean? There's a lot of things, but I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's something where you're going to shut down negotiations at all by asking for that.
You might want to wait out the NFL draft, because so many things change. Everybody wants those 2023 ones. You don't want to be a cliche when you ask for it. Yeah. But if you can win, hang on to Aaron Jones. I think, again, always, what is the price right now? What is he going for in these drafts? And then which is likelier to happen? His price goes higher or lower? I mean, I don't know. They could add receivers and adjust that a little bit, but I feel like he's a buy in these drafts. I mean, for me, that's why we did it.
Yeah.
The point that everybody makes is the number of targets abandoned by Devontae Adams, and how Aaron Jones got a lot of volume, got a lot of targets when Adams didn't play in the past. So I like having him. If you don't think you can win, then you make that trade. You ask yourself, if you take a second, then you can offer that first and, figure out what you want to do. But right. I don't mind having him on my team. I know that our team has him. So,
right. Yeah, no, I think, it depends on where you are as a thing, but I don't think you're crazy at all to ask for a 2023 first. I think Jones is going to have a big year this year, especially in the passing game, which is so important in PPR. It's like all these running backs, the difference between, being relevant and being not relevant is targets. It's so important. Another team, Kevin's actually here, but so we'll get to him in a minute. One team I want to talk about really quickly, because I love going through the different builds and stuff.
Is it going to be Louis?
No, I'm not talking about Louis' team. We talked about Louis' team enough. Fantasy BSOL, Frank Shinnick and David Mora.
Great job.
So this is interesting. So it's a 22 round draft. Okay, they have 16 players, and they have 0 picks next year. So intriguing. They have, and they're absolutely loaded. I'll read through it real quick. They have 1 quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. They have Leonard Fournette, Zeke Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Justin Jackson, Travis Etienne. At receiver, they have Stephon Diggs, Russell Gage, Marquez Callaway, Cortland Sutton, Antonio Brown, Allen Robinson, Sammy Watkins, Michael Thomas. And at tight end, they have Travis Kelce. So 1 quarterback stacked with the tight end. No kicker, no defense yet. They'll have to pick one up eventually.
Their last pick was Antonio Brown after trading their last future picks to us.
Yes. Thoughts?
I mean, I love it. You always want to be different. Different is never bad.
Yeah.
So this is different. And, if the season starts badly for them, which it probably won't. I mean, it's the nicest starting lineup in the league, almost definitely.
Definitely.
So if they win 4-0 or 4-1 or something like that, then maybe they can even flip, I don't know who's young here, ETN or somebody like that, and Sutton, and get even stronger. If it goes the other way, they'll eventually dump it. But, I think different is good. This team established itself, halfway through this draft, if not earlier, as we're going in a certain direction. And I commend them. I think, they definitely built the best lineup. What they need is to survive the randomness that swallows whole teams in these leagues every single year, every time. They just have the bad breaks. Mahomes and Kelce will determine how well they do. If that holds up, Kelce holds up for another year, then they'll be tough to beat.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool strategy. And they obviously went in with a specific plan. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to have any picks next year. We're going to trade for all the best players we can get. And what's interesting is, well, like you said, if they hit on most of these guys, they can win this year and trade off spare parts for next year. Like if they have Fournette, Zeke, no one's taking Zeke, but Fournette, Zeke, Kamara, Chubb, ETN. They can hit on 3 of those and still trade one away for a 2023 first. Diggs, Sutton, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas. Like they can hit on 2-3 of those and still trade. Like I really like what they did. I think they certainly accomplished, I'm assuming, what they wanted to accomplish.
Well, Adam, you sign up for a dynasty. Most people, myself included, I think you have the attitude, let's just start something and then put it in the ground, water it, and see what happens. We'll enjoy the trade interactions and we'll enjoy the process. But really, there is the long term in mind. The fundamental thing about dynasty is this is going to be your team for a period of time. And if you go in with not that these guys did, but if you go in with an attitude like, I don't care about that. You play it like it's a redraft. And you try to take advantage of all the people that are trying to accumulate draft picks. And like, I'm not sure. You have some guys who come in, and I don't mean this negatively. They come in like, I'm not sure what to do right away. So I'll take your first, I'll take the younger guys. There were guys in this league drafting rookies round 1, I mean, they seem to have the attitude that I'm not going to win this year, and that's okay. What you and I tried to do when we noticed that, we tried to move up. We made the first trade in, and tried to play off of that, because there is going to be this attitude that, dynasty, we're going to take our time, and, maybe we're not sure of ourselves in a high stakes league like this, so we'll go slow. But what BSOL did is take what we were thinking and go, 5 times.
Yes.
And just here are all the draft picks. They made a couple trades with us where you and I went, how can we say no?
Right. But they had a plan. They stuck to it, and their team looks really, really good this year.
So let's bring in Kevin Scott and try to figure out which rookies are going to be good, because Kevin, I think if anyone's going to know, it's going to be Kevin Scott grinding the data. Unless, Kevin, this counts as some of the grinding, we appreciate you taking time out from the grinding to talk with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Good. I've been listening in. I think you guys have some great thoughts about Dynasty in general. That's a really interesting conversation.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of my we haven't got to this, but I feel like in a lot of these drafts, I end up like I've gone a little bit too much in the middle. You're trying to accomplish both things. You're trying to get the right young players and build for the future, but also give yourself a chance. Do you feel like when you draft these, you really have to pick one or the other, or can you actually succeed middling it, so to speak?
Yeah, I think that's the common challenge for every dynasty player is first of all deciding what you want to do, or you're going to try that middle ground. For me, I've gone both directions in various leagues, depending on, like you're saying, how the draft is falling, how people are approaching picks versus existing players and all that kind of stuff. And I think you guys were smart with that. You see somebody that is going, most guys are going hardcore at the young guys, and just sit back and take your value with the established players. I think for me, the biggest thing is trying my best. One thing I've learned with Dynasty is trying my best not to give up premium picks, even in those kinds of situations. If I can hold on to at least my first and second in all future years, where you have those while taking advantage of those players, because there's some players who are still interested in thirds and fourths and all these future picks that, for all intents and purposes, are pretty worthless. So but if you're talking two years out, even 1 year out. So yeah, I'm going to take advantage of that. But in a recent league, I traded my second away. I'm willing to do that. If I see serious value, but I try to hold on to those.
Yeah, it's interesting too. And I feel like, for dynasty startups, if you can, I feel like auction's the way to go, but most, sites and stuff, you can't do auction. And so I feel like it really depends too on what draft slot that you get. And it might sound crazy, but if I'm in a super flex tight end premium, okay, if I've got the number one pick or number two, but I want, me personally, Josh Allen, to me, he's a player that I can have on my team for 10 years. Fine, great, awesome. But if I'm in a draft like this, if I had the first pick, Jonathan Taylor or Jamar Chase, to me, those players aren't necessarily make or break the franchise. They're not going to play for 10, 15 years like a quarterback in Superflex. I would trade out of there and I would get a ton of picks and build my team that way. But if Mike and I were at the end of the first, there was, no one wanted to trade up to 10. So we had to kind of do the opposite, and we needed to trade up and go get a guy. I think it depends on where you are and who you like. And I think you just got to be flexible.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the willingness to, make a move and part with those early picks is so rare. I feel like in my leagues, people are very hesitant to give up their first round, overall pick, in that startup. And if you think about it, that's just the top 12 players by our current, list.
Yeah,
that's going to shift. I mean, even in one off season, that's going to shift. So being willing to move back, if you pick up a future first, that kind of stuff, you pick up, even try to stockpile those third, fourth, fifth round startup picks. Those are gold, and I think people trade those away too easily to get those top picks for sure.
So Kevin, the draft is 1 week away. What are a couple of your thoughts here, whether it's fantasy draft related or, you're taking in all this information as we all are about the top running backs, the top receivers, landing spots. What comes to mind?
Yeah, I guess draft in general, what comes to mind is it's kind of sad how devalued running backs are. At the same time, Breece Hall is the only one that, and Kenneth Walker to an extent, are the only ones that really get people excited. So I think it's like the fact that we're devaluing running backs on top of the being a weak class. That's kind of sad, but the receivers are exciting still. I cannot get a feel for if a year from now we're going to say this was another historic receiver class like we have a couple times in the past few years, or if we're going to say, wow, we really overvalued those guys. It's hard to tell, until we see them in an NFL, uniform and with the team and catching passes from an NFL quarterback, putting up real stats. It's really hard to tell who's really going to boom bust. But I think we have, for all intents and purposes, 7 guys, maybe 8 guys who have a realistic chance in the first round. You have some projects like, Christian Watson, who could be awesome, but could be, super raw and not do much. But there's several guys, especially the Ohio State guys and, Drake London, who I think are going to be instant starters and possibly instant stars. So those guys are exciting. I don't know about tight ends. That's another question mark. Quarterbacks seem kind of bad, but we can talk about a few guys for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting too. You were saying it's sad about the running back position, and they're talking about, man, maybe like 10 years ago, Breece Hall might have been a top 5 pick.
Definitely.
And I remember watching the draft when I forget, Michael probably know the year off. It was like Cedric Benson, Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown, went like 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Was that like 2005 or something?
6 or 7.
Oh, 6 or 7.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
But like none of those guys panned out.
I wasn't born yet. So
you weren't born into into the fantasy world yet.
That's actually
Cadillac Williams, man, that guy was supposed to be awesome, and he just
injuries and all types of stuff. But like, so does a team and I use the Bills for example because I'm a Bills fan and they've kind of been rumored to it. Like it's not smart to take a running back in the first round, but if we're talking about a guy that was good enough 10 years ago when the running backs were valued to be a top 5 pick or top 10 pick, you're getting him at 25. So what if they trade back 7 spots and take him at 2-1? Is that okay? Like, Javonte Williams was a high second round pick last year. No one's really killing Denver for that. So I feel like it depends on the team. It depends on the situation for the running backs.
Yeah. And it feels like to me, you got all this talk about, the 5th year option for those first round picks. And so everybody wants to try to get certain positions within that first round. To me, it's like, I guess you're not paying running backs big money, so you don't want to try to squeeze them in. I know the Chiefs took Edwards-Helaire at 32, a couple of years ago. But I think, hey, if the Chiefs had taken Jonathan Taylor at 32, who was on the board, we'd be thinking about it a lot differently. It's not – and to me, if you have a star, I don't care what position it is, that 5th year option is gold. So I don't think it would be dumb at all for the Bills to take him at 25 if they love him.
Kevin, who is – I think maybe it's an easier question if it's a receiver. Who's a receiver that either you wouldn't be picking in these drafts before the NFL draft where you don't know the landing spot, or you think, maybe because of how the whole situation reads for you, the possible landing spots or what the hype is on the player that you're off of? Is there a receiver where you feel like those of us who are drafting are spending too much attention and draft capital on, or no?
Yeah, I think it's tricky if you're drafting now before the NFL draft. It's almost certainly best ball. I guess there's a few dynasty leagues going on, but in that case, I think you just have to diversify among all the guys you like. I don't think there's any guy that I would say you have to totally avoid within that top 10 receiver group. If you're only doing one draft, maybe, but if you're doing several, like most people in best ball, then just diversify. But as far as like overvalued as a whole, guys that I like less than their current ADP, I would mention Jahan Dotson is one guy I think of. I think when I watch his tape, he's a little bit like Keenan Allen with his route running, which is a great compliment. I mean, amazing quickness in and out of breaks, but he is so little that I just wonder if he's going to get pigeonholed as like one of these, slot only that, just gets short, not far, ADOT passes, just little dump off kind of short stuff. I think he's fast enough to go deep, but I just think he has to land in the perfect situation. So until I see where he lands, I'm a little skeptical for him. And definitely a guy that I'm avoiding is Justin Ross. I feel like there's a lot of people who are avoiding him. So, but I still think at his ADP, I think he's going in like the 2nd round or so of, like a dynasty draft, like a rookie draft. I mean, that's too early for me. I just think the last couple of years he's been bad, and his first year he was great, but that's too long of a gap for me. I just haven't seen it lately.
Why does stuff like that happen? Like, I'm not into college football enough to really have an opinion. Like, why does that stuff happen? Ross was Jared Smola of Draft Sharks. He does a lot, breaks down all this stuff. And he was saying that he had the best freshman tape out of any of these guys. And then I think of another Clemson, like a Sammy Watkins was a first team All-American as a freshman. And then it's like every year after that for the rest of his life, it's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. Like, how does that happen? How do you come in as a child into the ACC and dominate and then stop?
Well, I wonder if it was because he was like not being watched as a rookie. He was playing with a couple of really good players around him. And so, he was like, who's this guy? And he was probably getting single coverage from one of their worst corners, and he just burned it. I think he also had Lawrence throwing in the ball, right? So, I mean, he had every opportunity to kind of show up. And I think a lot of times in college, now I'm not a college guy either. Like NFL is my thing. I just watch some tape for these drafts specifically, but I think it's much easier to show up big time in college in the right situation. You know, you get a good coaching staff, you get a solid quarterback. It's not like you're playing against pro defenses, right? So you just get a good opportunity and you can really look great. And then as soon as they started, it seems to me, as soon as they started paying attention to the guy, he kind of fizzled. And and that could be wrong, but I just think he doesn't. Plus, his athleticism was just not good enough at the combine. So I'm just off of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, are we going back? We're going back a long time on Watkins, maybe Watson, but even Kevin, like even conferences vary year to year. Like Kenny Pickett. Oh, well, he's all this, and look at the year he had, look at the bubblegum card stats. But people say the ACC wasn't as strong. Like even a certain season within a conference that's considered a power conference can vary. So I guess there's no end to what you can look up. And then you have to decide, what's noise and what's not.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why. I mean, the talent is the most important part, even outside of all of the factors you can look at. And I mean, it's hard to say. People get talent wrong all the time, even professional scouts. So it's not like you can know for sure, but you watch the tape and you do your best to say, I think this guy has next level ability or not, and stick with your guns because, a lot of it is just noise.
Kevin, by the way, Sammy Watkins, so I'm looking this up because I want to know. 11, 12, 13 at Clemson, and Chad Kelly was his quarterback. Taj Boyd was the one. We were kind of hot for him for a minute there, and Chad Kelly was also there before he transferred. So
interesting.
Swag, it's Swag Kelly, Mike. Swag.
Sorry. Raiders Day.
That's right. Kevin, what is your opinion? I normally don't ask like opinions on specific players, but this guy, because I'm looking at this draft and I'm looking at a lot of the receivers coming out these days are smaller, quicker.
Mm-hmm.
These NFL offenses are shifting to the spread, right? And they have more. NFL has much more mobile quarterbacks who can buy time and get these guys time to get open in these scramble drills. But a guy that I've just really been kind of enamored with and looking at a lot lately is George Pickens, who's not that, right? He's an outside alpha, 6'2", 6'3", pedigree father, played in the NFL. Like he's a guy that I've seen mocked a little bit at the end of the first round, but I feel like he was another one that broke out really young, got the injury last year. Well, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's actually on my undervalued list. I think he's I really, from the tape I saw, I like the talent a lot. I like the size. I like how he tested. So I think he's going to be a very good NFL player. I don't know, like you're saying, if he's kind of opposite of what a lot of teams are looking for because he doesn't have the quickness. But I think he's got the long speed, and I think there are still a lot of teams that want that size. Even Treylon Burks. I mean, he's going to go in the first for sure. There's teams that are looking for that, like the DK Metcalf kind of beast, AJ Brown kind of feel, and some teams want that guy who can post up. Pickens is kind of like a hybrid, though. He's big, but he's also quick, and he's not huge. He's not like a DK Metcalf size.
Right.
So I really like him. I think he could play that. Be really good in the intermediate levels, right? Like 15, 20 yards down the field. So if he lands with a good quarterback, I mean, I was actually, I heard whispers about the Chiefs. That's my team. But he would have to probably last till 50 because they're not going to take him at 29 or 30. But yeah, I'm not sure that they did bring him in for a visit. So yeah, it's possible, but I like him, but I do think if he goes early second, it's probably to a bad offense, and then you gotta kind of reassess at that point.
Because they're talking like the betting lines have it over 6 receivers, 6 or up in the first round. 6 seems pretty safe at this point, and we can name those names. But you get to Kansas City at 29 and 30, and if there's not a trade, you feel like they're almost going to take one of them to fit in with the Tyreek Hill trade, right, Kevin? So.
Yeah.
If 5 receivers, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Burks and Garrett Wilson and Olave and Drake London and Jamison Williams, those would be the 5 we're pretty sure will go early-ish, right?
Right.
Yep.
And then you're talking about, I mean, on my list, I have Pickens next. So yes, he could certainly go, but I think that among the NFL, they like Dotson more. I think that there's a lot of talk about Christian Watson and Sky Moore going in the first potentially. So you got, those guys that's to me, 9 players that we could be looking at potentially going in the first. I just think if any of them are going to slip, it's likely to be Pickens, just based on the little bit of talk we're hearing about him. You know what I mean? All the other guys have so much more buzz. But hey, if the Chiefs took him at 30, I'm going to be happy because I think he's got a lot of ability.
And I think too, he fits what they need. Like that, Juju's not an outside guy; he's a slot guy, right? And they lost Tyreek was everything, but like I think he fits what they need as an outside kind of receiver out there. So I wouldn't be surprised. I would love for fantasy, would absolutely love it for Pickens to go there. I would hate it because I hate the Chiefs. No
you do?
No offense to me personally. I don't even have a. I don't even have a shirt that says 13 seconds or anything.
Oh,
I did not buy it. I did not buy it. So
well, you can't buy a shirt when you won the Super Bowl 2 years ago and then you lose to the Bengals.
I know. See, this one says champions. That's the one I wear.
I
don't want that 13 second stuff.
You cannot. No one will ever have a shirt that says that because no one wants one.
Right. They made them though. They made them.
Chief fans don't want to talk about last year's playoffs either. I mean, how'd you lose that game, right?
I saw you shaking your head at Sky Moore. Do you not like him, Adam?
I just don't think that Sky Moore would be a good fit. Like if Pickens is there, I think the Chiefs would be crazy to take Sky Moore over. Or personally, I mean, what do I know? But like, I think Pickens is what they need. I'm fine with Sky Moore. I just think that, but who knows? Maybe they're trying to get that Tyreek Hill-ness back with a quicker, smaller guy to be able to run those jet sweeps and all that type of stuff.
What do you mean? They got Mecole Hardman. What are you talking about?
Oh, I've been waiting. Can Mecole get? Okay, we have a Chiefs guy on. Beautiful. Can Mecole? Can he get better? Like my argument preseason for him last year, and I wasn't super high on Mecole Hardman, but I was just like, hey, could he get better? People aren't accounting. People just like to not account for players just getting better over the course of their career.
Because it's rare.
Yeah.
Is it?
What most people don't know is that if Hardman was not a receiver in college. I mean, the guy was a cornerback or a safety or something. So they literally switched him after his freshman year to a receiver. He has almost no, he's still learning the position. And in Kansas City, they make you learn all 3 positions. I think he's getting there. I mean, I think he's just probably not as like Tyreek is a rare in every sense. I mean, the guy picked up by the middle of his rookie year, he knew them all. And people don't understand how smart that guy is. I mean, he's ridiculous athlete, but an amazingly smart player. I think Hardman's just slower. He's learning it. He's getting there. But no, he'll never be like Tyreek. He'll never have that. It's not because people just think, oh, Tyreek is fast. Hardman's fast. Why can't he replace him? Tyreek is a ridiculous route runner, and a ridiculously great football player across the board. So.
Now, and I will say to Mike's point of guys like Tyreek got better.
He did
as a route runner. He did get better. That's when he exploded. So my question is, I know a lot of people reach out to me about guys like Devin Singletary and guys like Gabe Davis because I know we're here in the Buffalo area. So what's the word? Like the Bills to me love Gabe Davis as a team. Josh loves him. The ownership loves him. The GM loves coach, everybody. So that affects like what they're going to do in the NFL draft. It affects what they're going to do with free agency. How do the Chiefs feel about Mecole Hardman? Are they indifferent? Has there been any buzz? Like what's the word?
Well, I think it's a mix because Andy always talks about the kid's getting better, and he's learning this, he's learning that. But the bottom line is Patrick doesn't really trust him, and that could change. But you've seen many games, and I watch every Chiefs game, probably like you watch every Bills game, and there's many games when he sees Mecole going, he'll throw the ball, and then Mecole isn't within 15 yards, and he just yells at him like, "What the heck are you thinking, man? Like you were supposed to do this," and it happens over and over. So again, maybe Mecole will learn it. Maybe it just is going to take him 3 years. He's definitely stinking fast, right? And he's actually not a terrible route runner. He's got good hands, etc. But he just I think it's all mental with him. If he figured it out, all that, I think he could be good. But I don't think he'll be like a B player. He's never going to be an A player, even if he gets better.
Deep End Dynasty, 10 minutes on Mecole Hardman.
Well, it's not even enough. I mean, I'm listening and I accept everything that's been said. It's also like the other factor is it's kind of too late. Like
that's right.
He's had the role he's had here the last 2-3 years. Is it even 3? It's at least 2. I mean, he helped torch the Bills in the AFC Championship two years ago with his speed, but Now they've lost Hill. They've made replacements. And on Davis, I just want to say, they all talk like they love him. They haven't acted like it yet. Like they wouldn't put him on the field the first 2 years.
That was weird.
First year he caught 8 touchdown passes, and they went out and signed a replacement. So I think the assumption is this year that he will have that role. But I think the Bills also draft somebody by Friday night in this for the outside. Like Davis isn't really perfect for that. Tape guys have never really liked Davis. So two
I loved
very
him.
good and interesting teams.
In college, I was watching his tape, and when I like him coming out for the rookie draft, and I thought I saw some Mike Evans. I mean, that guy, he was like a man among boys when he was in college, just like going up over people. And I don't know about the route running and all that, but I thought he'd be great and I think he has been. I mean, every opportunity he's gotten, he's produced. So I don't know why on earth they wouldn't make him, a 1B to Diggs and feature him.
Yeah,
Mike Evans, Adam.
You came on the wrong podcast.
Simmer down.
To Mike Evans. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like a Mike Evans.
Him.
Mike Evans has been in the Hall of Fame for 5 years, and we just don't know yet.
I feel like it's non-zero that Adam will be his presenter at the Hall of Fame someday.
DraftKings, go on there. Let's see what it is. But yeah, I think that Gabe Davis, I love that Gabe Davis is a hot topic right now in dynasty circles. And I think I was posting, I commented on something today from Austin Martin and those guys talking about it. And I think we're going to know the answer, like Mike said, Friday, because if they love him, they're going to leave him. They're going to leave it alone. And if they don't or whatever, even if they take a receiver, I think it's going to be more of a slot guy. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think the Bills knew after his rookie year. They didn't know. Nobody knew. So they went ahead and got Emmanuel Sanders, and he wasn't very good. He's old, whatever. And I think they know. And I think we'll know. We'll know for Friday night. And I hope they go slot receiver. I hope they don't go outside receiver, because I think they can get more value in that passing game by adding. You can really upgrade our slot receiver position. You're not necessarily going to get someone that's so much better than Gabe Davis right now on the outside. But Wandale, teeny tiny.
Are you not into McKenzie?
He's fine.
I like McKenzie. I like Crowder. I mean, I actually kind of like Crowder. But McKenzie's fine. They didn't sign him to a Mike would know more about this stuff than me. I don't think they signed him to a starting slot type.
Just
role.
More like a return guy still.
Yeah.
If they end up going receiver in round 3, Wandale Robinson was asked, so who'd you talk to? He said Buffalo. And they talked to me about 4 receiver sets, so if they end up going corner or even running back in the first 2 rounds, I feel like the odds are pretty good that corner, running back, receiver in some order are the first 3 picks if they keep them all. Then there's possibly linebacker if they're worried about Edmonds. Kevin, we've already kept you a long time. Tell us about the Expert Series, your podcast. What are you working on?
Yeah, so the podcast I actually just started last year because I've been writing an article about just some basically snap counts and what we can see with guys who are getting usage that we might miss because they're not getting as many targets or producing yet, but those early signals that they're going to be producers in fantasy. And so I just kind of dig into the data every week for that, and so I decided to kind of put that on a solo pod, and it's been fun, and got a lot of people who they say it's helped them, and so I'll keep doing that. But yeah, this off season, I just decided to talk to a bunch of the experts that I know and I built relationships with, and just kind of ask them, how do you win? How do you approach it? Some of them are analysts and don't do as much playing. How do they think about the game? How do they, what is something that listeners who want to improve their game can do to kind of get an edge in fantasy? And so it's been a really awesome time just talking with these experts, and I've learned a lot from them, and a lot of people have said it's been helpful for them. So I'm going to keep doing that for a couple more months here, and keep digging in with experts. I definitely encourage folks to listen to that.
Yeah, I want to listen. I've tuned into your podcast as much as I can. I really enjoy it. The snap counts and the where the players are lining up, like those are the type of analytics that really fuel me, because those can directly lead to fantasy points, right? Mm-hmm. So I really, really like that stuff. And the expert series, and I'll be completely honest, okay? Whenever I hear the word expert, it's a triggering word to me, and I roll my eyes. But then I go and I look, and you had player after player after player on there. That's what I like to see. Like, I like to see the people who are playing fantasy football and winning at it. Your guys, Abib and Theo and all the players that you had on there. Dwayne McFarland's an analyst, but he's also a big time player. Like, those are great guests. I listened to all those podcasts. They were sensational. I listened to Theo's the other day. Theo's was really, really good. Obviously I listened, Jared and Matt Ron, they play, they're analysts as well, but I can't stress the fact that you did an expert series and had players on there, because a lot of people, experts are just analysts, and that's not true. Right. There are really, really smart players out there that just have day jobs that just, you know what I mean? So I really commend you on doing that series and having players on there.
Yeah, I have another guy. I actually don't even know his first name, but he's in a boatload of leagues over at FFPC. I've played with him, and he's going to come on and talk about the post draft, like who he's targeting in rookie drafts. So that'll be a really good one too. Make sure check that out if you're in dynasty leagues. Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
another episode, another week, and I have no idea whether Adam even. I think he hates me. Like he's the whole premise of this was players, analysts, and I was always neither. I still get the link every week. Oh, join me on StreamYard, and then here are the sharks. And I think I'm the voice. I think I'm Don Pardo of the deep end. I don't even know. I'm still third year. I'm trying to figure out how I fit in.
But Kevin, Kevin, we get in all these drafts, and Mike wins them all. So it's like,
So he's a player. He's a player.
I'm only a player because of Adam. Like
he's a player.
Maybe. What a treat. Thanks a lot, Kevin. It's really cool to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks so much, Kevin.
All right, take care.
Love it. Love it. What are you shaking your head about?
Oh, well, the analytics, but the word that bothers me is expert. Since when does the word analytics not bother you?
It's triggering. Okay.
All right. Well,
what a show. Great show.
What a show. Come on, right?
A week from tonight. Come on. I'm excited.
A week from tonight, Tuesday 1st, high stakes. And then, it's very exciting. And then May is the Football Guys Championship drafts. Are we doing one together? Are we doing anything to celebrate May 1st?
Of course. All
right.
We should
stay tuned for updates.
We should just do it. It's interesting enough too. I was looking, how I said the first Football Guys wasn't filling. I was actually incorrect. Those were the slow drafts that were filling, which is gross. Can we get a live? Come on, people. Let's get some live drafts.
All right. Send me a link.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good weekend. Next week, draft week, will be on the air Tuesday, Thursday. This is the Deep End. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. See you then.
See you guys.